Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week. Today, we're excited. We have Carmen Turner-Schott on with us. She's been a practicing psychological astrologer for over 30 years and a licensed clinical social worker, writer, and teacher with national and international clientele. She's self-taught and began studying astrology at the age of 16 and beginning doing consultations at the age of 19. She is a published author and has written 10 books, and her latest is the Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon. So, welcome, Carmen. We're really excited to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. I love talking astrology and spiritual topics, so it's nice to meet you.
Yes, you as well. And so, can you just tell us a little bit about how you kind of got started into astrology, what really drew you into it?
Sure. So it was interesting because I grew up in the Midwest in a small little town in Missouri and was not raised to believe in any of these things. Let me just say that, and I was always different. I always was very imaginative and had just interest in things that my parents had no idea how I even knew about. And I remember always feeling like there was something different about me. And I never really fit in, with my family. And everyone would, tease me because I would dream things and they would happen. I would have these intuitions and all these things. So in high school, I was already kind of open-minded and kind of seeking like, what is the purpose of my life? Just asking a lot of questions. And one night I went to bed and I woke up and I saw a glowing light, a ball of light in my doorway and I was frozen. I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, I couldn't do anything, and except I had control of my mind. And I just, because it was the unknown, and I was so afraid, because I was 16, I kept saying, please don't come up, have it come in my room. Please don't have it come in my room in my mind. And it never did. It would just stay in the door sill. And it was about the size, bigger than a softball, translucent, watery, kind of yellow, like water. And it would go and come right back into my doorway and go down the hall, come back. And I laid there for hours watching this. I tried to yell for my mother. I had no voice. I couldn't move or anything. It was like I was paralyzed. And after hours of watching it, it's like it released me. And I was able to finally yell for my mother and scream, Mom, look in my doorway. Do you see it? And she's like, Yes. And I'm like, What is it? I don't know. So she saw something that I saw. Finally, for the first time, they believed me because, they always said, Oh, it's your imagination, go back to bed. So after that, I was determined to find out why I saw that thing and what was it. So I started researching angels and spirit guides and the pyramids and UFOs and astrology. And I got my first astrology book in 1993 and at a little bookstore in St. Louis, Missouri called Mystic Valley. And I read about my sun sign Virgo. And when I started reading it, it just validated my personality. And then I learned, okay, I'm going to start doing charts. And I started studying how to do it on my own. And in those days, we didn't have computers and technology like today. You had to do charts by hand. So I had an Efferment, looking up the longitude, latitude, drawing. I had my rulers and I'm making my chart and the 12 houses and oh, that's the planet symbols. Okay, we're writing them in and what are the aspects? I did all that by hand. Now I'm like, I don't know how I did that looking back because now I have a cheat sheet computer that does it within minutes. But I used to do it in the old days by hand. And when I started looking up my placements about my sun, my moon, what houses they were in, my Mercury, all the different planets, it just validated why I was the way I was because I had a lot of 12th and 8th house planets. And that's what a lot of my passion comes from because people with 8th and 12th house planets, I call them phoenixes and angels. And I have a book about that out there too called Phoenixes and Angels. Um, they are born with mystical, unexplained experiences. So they have a lot of the same experiences I've had. And so astrology really validated my life and my experience. And I knew this is true, this is real, and it works. And I want to know why. And I wanted to master it. So I was in undergraduate school. Soon after that, when I was 19, and then got a psychology degree, and then was going to social work school to get my master's and I always work with children and teens, but I would do my business started just by mouth, word of mouth. I would meet people at a bookstore or at a bread company, and I would do their chart and I would share with them what I saw. And it was just for fun because I loved it and I was practicing. And people would cry. People would start to, validate everything I was saying in their chart. And it just kept proving to me that this is a tool of self-awareness. And I call astrology a map of the soul. So your birth chart, or what we call the natal chart, is based on your day, month, year, exact time of birth, AM or PM, in place of birth, city, state, country. And the time is really important because it can change where the planets are in the houses. And the way I explain it to people when they're like, "Well, what's a birth chart?" It's a wheel and has 12 sections like a pie, and it's symbols. So when people, you can go on astro.com and do a free birth wheel, but you're not going to know how to interpret it unless you have an astrologer, to call. You can, email me, go to my website, whatever, I'll help you. But it may take some work, but the way I explain it is this: on the moment, time, place of our birth, all of the planets were in a certain star constellation, which we call the 12 signs. They were in the sky. If you look up at the sky when you're born, the planets were all in a certain star constellation and they were in a certain area of the sky. So astrologers cut the sky into 12 sections, and it's like we take a picture of the sky at the moment, time, place, your birth, and we put it on a piece of paper. And it's a wheel. And there's 12 houses and they're numbered, and then the planets fall within each of those houses and they're in a certain sign. That is your natal chart, the map of your soul. That chart never changes. It stays that. It's who you are, it's why your soul's here, it's your personality. Now, there's all kinds of charts that astrologers can do. You do transit chart, which is taking a picture of the sky now, putting it on top of your birth chart, and then I can help clients see what is affecting each area of their life. Like what's going on, in your health, your marriage, your money, your work, your home, your family, your identity, your kids. You can look at all of that by a transit chart. Then we have other charts like for relationship compatibility. We can look at you and your partner, you and your kids, and we can see the compatibility, the strengths, the weaknesses, the challenges. So I do, we call that synastry charts and composite charts. So astrology is a science and it is also energy. And that's why it's accurate. And so many people will tell me, "Well, Carmen, I know I'm a Capricorn, or I know I'm a Virgo, and it's so accurate. Like, I don't understand it though. Like, why?" And I said, "Because, God created the universe. Everything is energy. Everything has energy. There's a purpose to everything. Why are the planets in the sky the way they are? There's a reason for it." And so one of the easy examples I give to people that are just learning or don't know a lot about astrology is the moon. The moon affects the tides of the ocean. So the moon, the ocean tides, I mean, when there's a full moon, it's crazy. And then, I started interviewing police officers. When I worked in crisis intervention, I used to work with runaway teens. And every time there was a full moon, my kids were at the police station and I'd get called out and I'd have to go out and help them. I'd go out to home visits and things like that. And I did that for years when I first started out as a social worker. And every time my team I worked with, said, "Carmen, you said it's a full moon. You said it was going to be crazy, and it was." And I'm like, they're like, "But I don't understand why." And I'm like, "You don't have to know why. Just know it's energy. And that now you can watch the cycles of the full moon and you'll be, it's just going to prepare you for what the energy is going to be. That's all. It gives you kind of an insight into what could happen." And that's why, astrologers look into prediction, or, they'll ask astrologers, "Who's going to win this election? Who's going to do this?" We can look at the signs or the energies or the patterns. But I love what Edgar Casey said, the sleeping prophet. I used to study a lot of his work. He said astrology is fact, but there's no greater power over man than his own will. And that means that we are impacted by the energies of the planets and everything, but we have the power of our mind. And we know, okay, we have a pattern. We can stop repeating a bad pattern, whether it's attracting people that have a lot of pain, or people that abuse us. If that's our pattern, we can stop that pattern with our own willpower. So you can see these patterns in a chart, and I can tell someone, "Listen, you need to be careful. who you marry are marrying too fast because you have Pluto in the seventh house or Mars. That could be conflict or power control issues in a marriage. And I can give them, warning, hey, it's to try to prevent things. But some things are meant to happen no matter what we do. And so that's the thing with the chart. Some of the things in your chart are destined to happen. It doesn't matter what we do. We came here to experience certain things. And that's why we were born on the time, place, date of birth that we were born, to ensure that our soul learned those lessons. And so we're not being punished. We chose it. And that's what I tell people. And as an astrologer, I can share tips, for parents that have kids and try to help them, to guide them, to make it a little bit easier. But if some things are going to happen no matter what we do, and because we have to go through it. But it gets everything in our birth chart is leading us to our soul mission, which is what I talk about in my newest book, Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon. It's all about the north node of the moon, which is our soul mission this lifetime. And this is what the book looks like. This little symbol here is the north node. This is the south node. So if you go to astro.com, you pull up you do your birth chart, put your information in, you're going to see this north node in a certain house and a certain sign. That is where your soul is wanting to learn this lifetime. The south node is your past lives. It's what your soul has already mastered. So the sign that the south node is in is where you feel all cozy and comfortable, and that's what you've been repeating the pattern of. And then what happens is when we turn 27 years old, we have our Saturn return. And that's the first, we call it the birth into adulthood, astrologers do. The planet Saturn is the planet of karma, the planet of destiny, the planet of responsibility, paying debts, also financial success, work, career, right? So when that happens, everyone on Earth has been living in their south node, their past lives, and that energy until they turn 27. Then we're like, whoa, what's going on? Because if you start talking to people, I mean, I've interviewed thousands of people about this. I'm like, okay, what happened during age 27 to 30? Because that's when the planet Saturn returns to where it was when you were born in your birth chart. And it takes it about 30 years, to do that. And so they're like, oh my gosh, my life fell apart, or I got married, I had a kid, I got pregnant, I divorced, I moved, I changed jobs, somebody passed away that I was close to. All these things happen to test us during the age 27 to 30. And for the first time in our life, we start feeling our destiny, our north node. And we feel the energy of it. It awakens it, so to speak, is how I say it. And that happened to me. It happened to everybody I know. When I was in my Saturn return, I had my daughter. I was pregnant with her. I gave birth to her. We moved several times because my husband was in the Air Force. So it was a lot of traumatic change. He married me when he was in his Saturn return. He's 5 years older. So you can see these patterns in everyone you meet. And they don't even have to believe in astrology. I'll ask them, what happened when you were 27 to 30? Oh, that was the hardest time of my life. People, and they don't know it's astrology. They don't know it's astrology. They
Yeah.
just think, it's fluke. Well, no, it's a science. So after age 30, when we turn 31, it kind of it gets a little better. We feel like a weight lifted off. But from that moment on, age 31 until age 57, everything that happens in our life, our destiny to get us into our north node fully. And by the time I do charts for people that are 61, they're in their north node and they've mastered it. They're doing it. They're like, oh yeah, Carmen, I've been there, done that. I had a death rebirth experience. I had to let go of the past. I had to forgive people. I had to quit my job and start a whole new career. I was meant to do spiritual work. They all share with me. And it's so amazing because I tell everyone, guys, it doesn't matter. You can go kicking and screaming and resist your north node, and the universe is going to smack you and it's going to pull the carpet out anyway. It's going to get you there no matter what. So I just tell people, listen, don't worry about, am I not doing what I'm meant to do? Everyone always asks, what's my soul mission? That's what everybody always asks me. What's my mission? What am I meant to do? What's my destiny? Your destiny is to master the north node of the moon in astrology in your birth chart. That's your destiny. And as long as you do things to move towards that and not resist the change, and it's also about balancing the nodes because you're in your soul, your soul has already mastered a certain sign in a certain area of life. So for instance, if you've got the north node in the house of home and family, the fourth house, and it's in Cancer, that means in past lives, you master being a Capricorn because every sign has a polar opposite sign. And so there's 12 signs, there's 6 nodal patterns. And I'll go through what they are and what their main learning is if you want me to. It's really simple. And when you hear, and then that way you'll remember, oh my gosh, okay, this makes sense. But South Node in Capricorn, it means that you've mastered being a Capricorn and you mastered the 10th house of career, work, success, recognition, working, making money, focusing on your goals. But the North Node in the fourth house means that this lifetime you have family responsibilities. And so we look at the houses and the sign when we look at the nodes. So anyone with Cancer Capricorn nodes, they are the nodes of family karma. And I just told my mother this weekend because my mother has those nodes. And I said, Mom, I know why this is all happening. And she's like, what? I said, I'm going to tell you, this is it's your nodes. It's your soul mission to go through this stuff. And she's been taking care of her parents. My grandmother, she passed away now, but she's taking care of my grandfather. He just turned 90 on Friday. And I
Nice.
went home to see him, and he's in his third Saturn return. Third. Because we have usually live, if you live long enough, you'll have 3. If you live, I don't know, most people, I don't know if I know anyone that's had 4, but we typically at least have 3, and then that's it, right? Well, cycle of life. But that first one at 27, then you have the 57, and then you have, the 87. And so he's 90. So I told my mother, listen, you're meant to go through this and things will get better, but this is your soul chose to do this. And it's hard for her to believe that because it's been really stressful, but that made her feel better. And so it's karma. And so it's about we can't escape our nodes. I realize, I study astrology for 30 years, and the most important thing is the nodes. And no one told me that, when I first started studying. I just, I was looking at all kinds of stuff, and I didn't realize it till probably 2012 is when I realized, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to be a Scorpio? Because see, my north is Scorpio, and I'm like, I have no Scorpio energy. I'm Virgo and Aries. Okay, a lot of Virgo and Aries in my chart. And I'm like, I could feel it, but I could feel myself changing. And I could feel distrustful of people, protective of myself. Like I went through stuff that made me get hurt. And so Scorpio, that's part of Scorpio is having boundaries and not trusting everyone easily, being a little skeptical, a little bit secretive, private. I was wide open. I trusted everyone. Like ever since I was young, I was naive. Now I'm more like a Scorpio, like, that doesn't sound right. Or I'll trust my instinct, right? They're lying to me. I mean, I'm sorry, and before I think it was wrong or it's mean to say they're lying or it's wrong to think bad about someone. No, trust your instincts. That's what I'm learning, to trust my gut. And so I eventually now I laugh because I feel like I've kind of morphed into, I get it. I'm kind of living the Scorpio energy now because of life situations. Some of them were really hard, painful, but it got me where I went. And my South Node was Taurus, which means I like comfort, I like security, I like food. I like to be do what I want to do and be lazy if I want to. And I like to, I'm a little stubborn, a little strong-willed, and I like nice things, but I don't want stress, and I want peace, and I don't want change. Scorpio's the opposite. They're like cutting ties and changing things and emotional and mad and get angry and tell you what they think. See, I was not like that. Now I have to learn to balance these two sides of me, Taurus and Scorpio. We all have a node. So I'll tell a little story about my node, and then I'll go through each of the nodal pairs if you want. That way people listen and you can look up. So one of the big things with I went through a really difficult time. It was 2018. It's been 7 years now, 7 year cycle. And I was walking and I was listening to music and I started crying. I'm like, why is this happening to me? We get into this mentality sometimes of like we're being punished or like, because when something's hard, it's hard when you're in it, you know. And I was, just talking to myself and I'm like, why is this happening to me? And I heard this voice in my head that said, how else will I make you a Scorpio? And I just started cracking up. I mean, I started laughing and crying, like laughing, crying, like a good cry. And I released something that day and I realized, yeah, because if you don't have pain, if you don't have loss, if you don't have trauma or grief or sorrow, you're never going to learn to be a Scorpio. That's the thing with those nodes. It's the nodes of loss, death, rebirth, resurrection, also healing. It's the nodes of healing, the Taurus Scorpio nodes. So I had to go through that, and that helped me too. But I was holding on to the past for dear life like a strong-willed Taurus. I wasn't going to let go, and I would not. I was stuck in the past. I was living in the past. That's what the South Node Tauruses do. And I tell all of them, you got to let the past go, or
Right.
you're never gonna, or you're gonna get forced into Scorpio, and it's gonna hurt. So I tell people, find out your nodes and then read everything you can about the sign that the North Node is in. And in our book, we go through each of the nodal pairs. We talk about what it means to be a North Node Aries, South Node Libra, what it means to be a South Node Aries, North Node Libra, what the house is. We talk about it all in a very basic way. So anyone can understand our book, and um
I
and
just have
so
a question.
yeah, yeah.
So sorry. Is just so how do you find out what your node is then? Because I assume that your node is not necessarily what your sun sign is.
Absolutely. It can be it can be different. It's based on your day and year, time and place of birth, really, but really the day and year, because everybody born in a certain that's a good question. So I'll make it a little easier. So every 18 months, the nodes change signs in the sky. Okay. So right now, we're getting ready to go through this. Everyone in the world is being affected by what's coming up on January 11. On January 11, there's going to be a big change of the nodes. So the nodes have been in Aries and Libra for the past 18 months, which has been testing everyone's relationships. It's that relationship karma pattern that's been affecting everyone in the whole world. There's conflict, there's disagreements, there's having to compromise with people, make, focus on your goals versus your partner, all these things. Now the nodes are shifted into Pisces and Virgo on January 11th for 18 months. And so we're learning about spiritual balance, being spiritual versus worrying about everything, trying to analyze and control everything like a Virgo. It's all about service, but we have to learn to have faith and trust and balance practical service with spiritual service and all of reality, imagination with practical, basic survival, So that's kind of the energy we're all going to be going through for 18 months. But for instance, my daughter's born in 2004. So she has like five friends. All of her friends born in 2004 had the same node sign.
Hmm.
Okay. Because it has to do with the year and the month. Some of them, if they're born, depending on what the cutoff month is, when the nodes changed, their nodes would have shifted over to a different sign. But every chart I've done for my daughter and her friends, because they're all born around the same, summer, spring, and they have 2004 is their year because it has to do with the year mostly. You don't really have to have a time to know what sign the North Node and South Node are in. To have an accurate chart, you need to know the time because then you'll know what house the nodes are in. So you can go online and do a North Node calculator. They're free. And it'll ask for your birth date and year, and it'll tell you what sign your nodes are in. But to know what house they're in, which is very important because the house is where that energy expresses out into the world. So you can know, okay, I'm meant to be a Scorpio or I'm meant to be a Virgo, but you're supposed to do that in a certain area of life. And so the house is important. You're supposed to do that in home and family, or maybe you're supposed to focus on career and not focus so much on the family or your health, or having a marriage or partnership, or not having a marriage or partnership and being single and being independent and self-reliant first. So, we all have our own learning, but I hope that makes sense. It has to do with the year. Yeah.
Yeah, that does make sense. And yeah, I can think because I'm coming up to my second Saturn return right away here in the next couple
Nice.
of years. And
Exciting,
I do
exciting.
remember my 27th because we moved, my relationship broke up. So yeah, definitely. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen in this one because I kind of like
You
this husband.
you did. I was just, yeah, when I looked at your chart, I noticed you had the Aries Libra nodes. So let's start with that. I'll go through the nodal pairs.
Okay.
So Aries Libra nodes, their main karmic learning is intimate partnership and relationships. What I've seen, and this is just from research and thousands of charts and people's experiences validated it, is that when you have the South Node in Libra and the North Node in Aries specifically, which is what you have, many times I'd say 99% of those folks are meant to divorce. If they don't divorce, there's some type of loss of a partner. There's something that happens that you have to learn to be self-reliant and independent on your own without a partner. Because in past lives, you always had a partner. You were Libra. Libra rules marriage, partnership, love. It's ruled by Venus. Harmony, peace and harmony. Libras don't like conflict, and they tend to sacrifice themselves for their partner. They find, everything's about helping and doing what their partner wants, and they sometimes don't think about their own needs. Okay. So that's why the universe at times tests you when you have these nodes, and almost always there's more than one marriage. Sometimes with your nodes, there may not be a remarriage for a while till you get a little older, and you're meant to have a soulmate. It's like the soulmate nodes. You're meant to have a partner, but it has to be when you finally learn the lessons that the Libra energy was trying to teach you. See what I'm saying? And then it's okay to let a partner help you. But you have to learn that you can do things on your own without someone else. Once you learn that, then the universe will send you a new partner that can support you and that you can compromise and work with, and can let them help you. But it's like a test. So that makes sense. You've already done it, and now you're getting ready to have your second Saturn return. So it all happened before, because by the time you're 57 or 60, like I said, you're in your node.
Yeah.
I always see that. And it's so cool. And so then opposite, like if you're a South Node's Aries, North Node Libra, same thing, divorce, more than one marriage, but their thing is a little different. They're learning, they already were independent and self-reliant, and they don't depend on anyone to help them. They want to do everything on their own. They want to make decisions on their own without consulting their partner. Like, they don't have the money, but they go out and buy a laptop, and their partner's like, wait a minute, you didn't even ask me. Well, I don't have to ask you. I make money. I work for myself. That's Aries, right? Like self-focused. And they're like, well, you're married now. We're a team. So they have to learn to look at other people's wants and needs before they take action. So they're learning a little different lesson, but it's similar, energy of balancing relationship karma. Because karma is sometimes good, but let's be honest, when you think of karma, it's hard. Karma is not easy to balance. Karma means there's some type of learning, it's difficult. It's not like warm and fuzzy, like we really enjoy it. We have to go through certain lessons, and that's the Aries Libra nodes, or the nodes of relationship, intimate partner karma. Okay.
Mhm.
And then we have Taurus Scorpio, the next pair. And Taurus Scorpio, that's what mine are. And Bernie Ashman, who wrote the book with me, Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon. Him and I both are Scorpio Taurus nodes, but we're flip. We're flip nodes. So he already was a Scorpio learning to be a Taurus, and I was a Taurus and I'm learning to be a Scorpio. And I bring this up because in our life, when you start doing astrology charts, you'll see this almost 90% of the time, if you have children or you have certain friends or people in your life, 90% of the time they have the flip nodes of you,
Uh,
because you attract the opposite. You attract people that can help you learn the lessons. So an example is my daughter. She's 20. She's got the South Node in Scorpio. So she's a Scorpio girl at heart. Her North Node's in Taurus. We're flip nodes. So we're mirrors. So what I'm learning, she's mastered. What I've learned, she has to learn. And we butt heads a little bit. Okay, because we're she's like, oh, she's like, you're too nice, you're too emotional. I don't trust them. She's very skeptic. So she's Scorpio. She's learned to be a Taurus. She also doesn't like me to buy her anything. She doesn't want any possessions or anything like that. And I'm like, you're meant to let us give you money and buy you things. She's an only child. She doesn't like that stuff. I'm like, you're meant to accumulate things. Your Taurus is your mission. So she's not there yet. She's 20. She's learning. So but no matter what, and she said, I don't want all this stuff. If something happens to you guys, I don't want to deal with all this stuff, this material stuff. I'm like, well, you're meant to. You're a Taurus North Node. So hey, you're gonna have to sell it. I don't know. But anyway, and they're the money nodes. They're the nodes of comfort. It's other people's resources and your own money and how other people's money helps you. That's the nodes, Scorpio Taurus nodes. And they're the nodes of death and rebirth, transformation, and healing. So a lot of them go into counseling or astrology or energy work, these fields that they can really help people heal because then that helps them heal. And so, and they're learning to balance material things with spirituality, and intimacy and sexuality can be issues for them. So they're learning to be vulnerable, or to have boundaries and not be too vulnerable, and so they're learning all this. So those are those nodes. And you can see those two I talked about, Aries, Libra, and Scorpio, Taurus. To me, those are the most difficult nodal pairs because it's more raw, and it's very deep situations in life, things you have to go through. It's not easy. Relationship karma, and then healing, death, rebirth. Those are the hard notes. Now we're on to the fun notes. Gemini and Sag. When I say it, I can just feel the energy lift. I wish I had Gemini Sag notes. So they're here for knowledge. They're here to communicate, to learn, to share knowledge, to talk, to speak, to write, to travel. They're the nodes of the traveler, the explorer, the adventurer. They're the social butterfly. They're friendly, right? They want to have fun. They want their freedom and independence. So that's the nodes there of Gemini and Sag. And Gemini is about short journeys, like in your neighborhood, your neighbors, your siblings. And then Sag is long distance travel to foreign, faraway lands. Okay. So people with those nodes, almost 100% of the time, they have a wanderlust to travel. Like they want to go to Egypt, they want to go to Europe. Many of them have live in a foreign country at some time in their life because it's meant to be. They have this interest in travel. So those are kind of the funner, you can feel the lighter energy of those notes. And then we have Cancer and Capricorn. And Cancer and Capricorn, is that right? Yeah, Cancer and Capricorn after Gemini. Cancer and Capricorn are the nodes of family, ancestral karma. So like your parents, your grandparents, your home and family, your childhood, things that happened to you when you were a child, though that's the karma. And it's all about balancing your home and your career, your achievements and your recognition and your goals, your ambitions with, I have kids I have to take care of. I have to take care of my spouse. I have to be able to buy a home. You're balancing this. So sometimes, if they're a Capricorn South Node, it means they got to learn to be more motherly, more nurturing, because Capricorns are the father of the zodiac. They're the disciplinarian. They're the achiever. They like efficiency, productivity, but they're typically work focused people. They want to succeed and own their own business, and they move up the ladder. They were meant to. But Cancer's the opposite. They stay home. They're homebodies. They take care of the emotional needs of the family. So like taking care of the kids and cooking, cleaning, all those like things, nurturing. hugging and listen to their kids cry, helping them, right? So it's a balance of those energies, the mother father energies, right? So and a lot of times Cancer Capricorn people, it just gives me the chills because I'll be on podcasts and stuff, and the people, I'll do their chart, and they'll, if they have these nodes, which happened once. I didn't know anything about the guy, and I said, well, he asked me my opinion. I said, well, I would say that you probably took care of one of your parents in your home or in your life at some point. And he's like, oh my God, my mother lived with me for 8 years before she passed away. He took care of her. And that's the North Node in Cancer, and he did. He moved her into his house. I hear this from a lot of people. My mother's going through this. She's taking care of her father. I did this event, and this is what's crazy. It was like all these astrologers, and it was an event so they could go and get 5-minute mini astrology readings, which is hard to do, 5 minutes. So I'm pulling up the wheel, just give them something. And I was just focusing on the node. And everyone that came to my table that night had the Capricorn Cancer nodes.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, what are the chances? And I know this node well because I've seen my mother live through this node. And I have a lot of friends that have lived through this node. So I said, oh my gosh. And I said, okay, is there something going on with your parents? Have you taken care of them or feel responsible? There's a feeling of responsibility, even if you're not the oldest, but like you have to be the one to help your parents financially, emotionally, physically when they get older, or even as a child. You may have had to help your mother because your father passed away at a young age. There's all these things, and they're like every one of them confirmed and validated what I just told you. Every one of them. And I'm
Wow.
like, this is why astrology is fact. It's true, and it's an energy, and it's what we're meant to go through. I mean, there's a reason for your chart. It's the map of your soul. It's your destiny. So Cancer Capricorn nodes, and then we have Leo Aquarius. These nodes are fun to me because Leo is the entertainer. Leo is generous. They're the lion, the king, the queen. They like to charm. They like to entertain. They like to music, creativity, art, expression. They're all about self-expression. Leos like attention. They're like, they want to be recognized for their creative gifts. And then Aquarius is kind of opposite of that. They're like they could care less if people accept them or like them. Okay, Leos want everyone to love them. And if you don't love a Leo, they will be so upset. Like, what did I do to them? Like they want everyone to adore them, and put them up on a pedestal. This is Leo. That's why they like to be on stage and have, fans, and they're kind. They got a kind heart. Leos are little children in their heart. They rule the house of children. Love affairs, pleasure, fun, excitement, adventure. So, they like to have fun. Leos like to have fun. Aquarius is like, I don't care to get my own recognition. I'm all about being a part of a group. They rule groups, they rule acquaintances, friendship. They're a little bit detached emotionally. They're known to get a bad rap for that because they're an air sign. They want to help people, but they can do it in a detached way. They can be seen as cold, aloof, and distant, but they really do want to help people. The humanitarian, they just don't want, they're not showy about it like a Leo. You know what I mean? And they are innovators, creative and innovative, just like Leo, but in a little bit of a different way. They're usually very good at science, technology, into computers, into, solving, complex problems, even social work. I know a lot of Aquarius social workers. So that's that energy of those nodes is about balancing your creativity, balancing, your own recognition with being a part of a group and not needing recognition, so kind of balancing that and being unique, creative, and eccentric is Aquarius. And Leo, and they both share similar traits. So you learn to balance all of those things. And Aquarius, Leo nodes are all about rebellion, revolution, just questioning authority. They're everything that's non-traditional is Aquarius. So it's different. Like Capricorn is the traditional. They do things traditionally, and what works, and there's history, there's a reason, there's morals, rules. Aquarius is like they want to buck the whole system. Like I don't want to follow any of that. They don't want to, they want their freedom and independence. And that's the, similar to Gemini and Sag, but you can feel it's a little different energy. And then the final pair is Virgo and Pisces. Virgo and Pisces are the spiritual nodes. So they're the nodes of balancing service, helping other people that are in need, but learning to balance the real world, which is Virgo's sixth house, what you eat, what you drink, get up every day, take a shower, pay your bills, all the mundane day-to-day activities that have to be done. They're organized, they're analytical, they're worriers. They're prone to want to control things, right? Perfectionists. That energy with Pisces, which is opposite of that. They have faith. They're a little bit idealistic. They tend to see rose-colored glasses. Everything's, great when it's not. They lack boundaries. They want a spiritual connection. They believe in astrology, crystals, mysticism. They meditate. They want to connect. They have to be careful about escaping from the world, escaping through drugs and alcohol. That's a Pisces thing because they're ruled by Neptune, which is alcoholism, drugs, addiction. They're prone to addiction. So it's like balancing that. And they're the nodes of spiritual service, finding your oneness with God or a connection to a higher power through being of service to other people, helping people. Those are those nodes. So those are all the pairs.
Hmm.
They're basic learnings that anyone can have. And you can go online, to do a calculator, to see where your North Node is, what sign, and then what house it's in. And in our book, we talk all about it. So if you get our book, Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon, if you're listening, you want a signed author copy, I have 50 of them. And you can visit my website, carmenturnerschott.com. And I actually have you can buy a book through my website and I'll mail it to you signed, a copy for yourself. And I could even send your birth chart wheel. So what it looks like. And I do that for a lot of people, so I don't mind.
That's amazing. And I was kind of laughing when you were going through the nodes because
Knowing people.
just different people, but I also was kind of laughing because of the opposites of the node because my first husband was a Leo and my new husband is an Aquarius. So
Interesting.
it was interesting when you said that because I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I, kind of went from one to the shift,
Yes.
right? So, and then both my husband and my granddaughter that we live with they're both Aquarius. So
Wow, that's
yeah.
really neat.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I'm a Virgo, Kimmy's a Capricorn, and my son is Pisces. So
Oh,
it was interesting listening to that too because that relates, right? It really does.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm a Virgo sun. My husband's a Virgo. My daughter's a Virgo. And then I was telling her earlier, my dad, my brother, my grandfather, my best friend are all Capricorn the first week of January.
Wow.
So Virgo and Capricorn, I mean, it's amazing you guys are teaming up, working together because Virgo and Capricorn are the most compatible match. Work, love, career, family, because they're both earth signs, but they're both very dedicated and loyal and hardworking and they just click. My best friend calls, she's like, it's so funny that I'm a Capricorn and so is your dad, your brother, and your grandfather. And I'm like, yeah, so Virgo and Capricorn, very compatible match because they're both earth signs. And especially working together, doing the podcast is perfect. You know what I mean? Perfect.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Nice to hear.
Yes.
Five.
So what do you do then if you don't know? Because I don't think you know your birth time.
No, I was going to ask that.
So what do you do if you don't know your birth time? Like how does that shift things for your
Sure.
chart?
So we call it chart rectification. So it can take a couple, hours to do. And what we do is if we can narrow down someone's time of birth within a 2-hour time frame, we can get an accurate birth chart. So if okay, I was born after midnight, but you don't know when. We work with you in depth, to ask, we'll find out, what things have happened in your life, first of all,
Right.
childhood things, family, ask a lot of questions about your life because those things should match the chart. So there's certain things that should validate you. So what I do is I have someone send me a photo, a picture of themselves, and then I meet with them. We talk about their history, things that have led up to their life, their talents, their career, kind of people they attract, are they married, just whatever. And I typically can narrow down the rising sign based on your physical appearance, on your facial features, and your life experience that you share, because the rising sign is your physical. It's your mask. It's how people first perceive you. So if your rising sign is the same as your sun sign, when people first get to know you, they're like, oh yeah, and then they're like, oh yeah, you're exactly how I thought you were, because it's the same sign. Like me, I'm Virgo rising, Virgo sun. They're like, oh yeah, you're exactly how I knew you were. But when your rising sign is different than your sun sign, people misjudge you. They judge you based on the rising sign alone, because they have to get to know you deeper to know your sun sign, your emotional nature, which is your moon sign, and they just misjudge you. So if you're like for instance, Capricorn rising or Scorpio rising, they get a bad reputation because people immediately think that they're serious, cold, and they're not interested in getting to know them. But that's not true. It just they're a little shy, they're a little introverted, they don't trust everyone easily. So they need more time to get to know you. And so I had an example. I did a lady was from Croatia, and she was adopted. She didn't know her birth time. And I went only by her picture alone. And I nailed down a couple charts, and I'm like, you know what? I just knew it. I'm like, you're a Scorpio rising. You've got to be, because she said, oh, this chart is me. Like when I finally got it, and we got an accurate chart. And so if it helps if you have between a 2 hour frame. If you know a time at all, AM, PM, it helps. If you really don't know, because some people don't, because they were adopted, we still can figure it out. But I'll need, some photos to look at your, when you were younger, now, talk to you and ask questions, and then we can try to find your accurate chart. We call it
Yeah.
chart rectification. So
My
it's
mother
it's
can't remember. My mother can't remember my birth time at all, and now she's
yeah,
not.
that's
So
my
that's like,
grandpa. Yeah, he was born in a house or something, and they didn't know his birth time. And my grandmother, she told me she thought he was born in the afternoon. I kind of messed with it, but I still don't have his I think I know he's a Sag rising. I think I figured that out. And so I think I got a pretty accurate, but no, I can do that for you if you're interested. I do that a lot for a lot of people actually. And so it's going to be hard to get an accurate chart for you, but you're going to know your node because you know your year of birth. You just don't have the time. So that's good, because the node, again, knowing what sign it's in is important, but we won't know what area of life you're meant to focus on without a time. So that's why we can figure that out, because the nodes don't lie. You know, like if family, like just hearing your experiences will validate an accurate chart as well. So that's kind of what we do to try to get you your best chart. It's done all the time. Yeah, astrologers always can do that.
good to
Yeah.
know.
That is good to know, because I think there's a lot of people, right? Rather you're adopted or, back in the day, I don't know that they kept as good a track as we do now. Like, now we're very precise, and so I think that's very interesting. And so if you have family or like children, husbands, whatever, if you look at their chart, then can you see how your nodes kind of
Connect.
either go together or you're pushing against each other?
Absolutely. Yeah. Usually, almost always, your one of your children always has the opposite nodes. And when I do family charts, always, not every child, but at least one has flip nodes of one of their parents. I've had times where they're like flip, flip. I mean, even the dad and the son, or the mom and the daughter flip nodes. Sometimes there's the same nodes, but I typically don't see that a lot. It's usually the opposite, because you're learning from each other.
Yeah.
That's why you chose to be in each other's life this lifetime. But with your partner, like your marriage partner, what we look at to see for compatibility is not so much the nodes. We want to look at the synastry chart, and that puts your birth chart on top of theirs, and then I can see how they affect you in all your areas of life, and then I put them in the middle, and your chart on the outside, how you affect them, and I analyze that, and that's really fun, and that's what we call the synastry charts. And then that really, it always resonates because like, oh my God, that's so weird, because that's how I felt when I met him, or her. So we look at that. And then a composite chart is we put both your charts together and make one chart. And that's like you as a couple, as one, as a unit, how you're going to be and what things you need to make the relationship, be successful. Like if the sun in a composite chart of a couple is in the ninth house, I would say you need to travel. You need to take classes together. You need to go overseas and go on a trip and see the world. If you're not doing that, your relationship will struggle a little bit, and there's certain things in the composite chart that we look at. And so I also look at each person's natal chart. Where is Venus, the planet of love for each of you? Where is Mercury? Communication's a number one cause of divorce, lack of communication. So I look at where are your Mercuries. How do you communicate? How is it different? What's blocking someone, maybe one of the partners? How can you work together to enhance? So I look at all the charts when I do the relationship compatibility with your kids as well. With parents and teens, I have, look at children's charts as well, teenagers, how the parent can help them, things like that.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that's great. And I mean, I'm gonna definitely be reading about your book on notes because, like I said, I'm coming into my next Saturn return right away here in the next, I'll be 56 this year. So
Yes.
it's coming soon. So I'd like to know, sort of what my soul mission is and, where I need to be heading and what I need to focus on to get there in this next little bit and what I can look forward to. So
Yeah.
I will definitely be getting your book to read.
Yeah, very good.
And so where is your book is available on your website? Is it also available on Amazon or?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. And if you go to my website and just, go to the book's main page, it'll pop up, order one of Carmen's books, signed book. You just purchase through my website. It's like a PayPal Stripe thing, and then I'll see it, and then I'll reach out, ask you what book you want, because some people want some of my other books. I have 11 books now, and
Wow.
then I can get them to you, and I can get you whatever one you want. If you want more than one, they're $20, include shipping, and I sign it, and I give you a little birth will included, and I mail it to you.
Nice.
Beautiful, nice.
Very nice. That's
Yes,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, that's
I have
great.
plenty of copies, so if anyone wants a copy of the newest book, I got plenty of them. So
Okay,
Wonderful.
thank you.
That's really good to hear. So, what do you think then as people, is there something we should be focused on more? Like should we be focused on our node more? Should we be focused on our rising side? Should we be focused on all of it together?
um I think the biggest thing is, there's a couple things. So I would say to definitely focus on your nodes, what sign it's in, what house it's in, balancing that, focusing on when we look at Pluto. Pluto is where we have a wound in our life, and usually in childhood. So learning to heal and let go of that wound, that's key because that's going to help you move forward in your life. So look at where is Pluto in your birth chart? What house is it in is the main thing. What house is it in? Because that's the house where you can have a wound. You know what I mean? And healing that wound. Also looking at the current transits that are affecting your life right now. So like right now, we have major astrological historic events happening in the world right now. And so let me grab my little sheet. I just did a presentation about um, this past weekend. So the biggest thing is the nodes of the moon change signs every 18 months, right? So for 18 months, starting January 11th, we are now in the Virgo Pisces nodes. That's going to be impacting the whole world. Why that's important is because Pisces is also water, right? It's a water sign. It's ruled by Neptune, the god of water, right? Neptune was the ancient Greek, god of water. So there could be a lot of more natural disasters or weather changes that involve water. Okay, so that's good. These are just things astrologers look at. Also, Pluto. the planet of cataclysmic change, the planet that was invented or found when nuclear atomic bomb was created. It's such a powerful planet. It's a planet of healing too, though, but it's a planet of traumatic, cataclysmic change, loss, destruction, and revolution. It just changed from the sign Capricorn into Aquarius, and it's going to be there for 20 years.
Wow.
Is huge. So this is a big astrological cycle that is impacting all of us on Earth. The last time that Pluto was in the sign constellation of Aquarius was in the 1700s.
Oh, wow.
We weren't, I mean, it was before the United States was really even who we are today. And back then, they had the French Revolution. There was lots of creations, inventions, like the parachute, the smallpox vaccine. All these things were invented during Pluto and Aquarius in the 1700s. That's what's going to be happening now, Pluto and Aquarius in 2025 until 2032. I mean, it's going to be a long time. And it's huge because it's going to be, we're getting ready to leave tradition. We have to get out of the old ways of doing things and the traditional stuff that we've always done. It's going to be a little painful for some people because we're going to have a complete change into technology. Like it's going to be a technological revolution. It's going to be fast and quick. Everything's going to be signs in the sky. This is kind of what the talk was. I talked about that people are going to be seeing things in the sky a lot more. Lights, UAPs, UFOs, unexplained flying objects. There's going to be things coming in and out of water. Okay, this is also goes on with some other things that are going on. Uranus goes into Gemini. That hasn't happened for a long, long time, and that's really gonna change things. There's these major Saturn and Neptune are moving into Aries, and that Aries is the god of war. The sign of motive, violence, drive, passion, but also war, right? So the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, I believe it was, let me see, was it Uranus? I'm trying to think. No, it was World War II happened when Uranus was in Gemini. So it's just there's a lot of major historical events that are going to happen and play out in the world, and astrology is just showing the pattern, right?
Yeah.
And the energies, and you can feel it. I mean, it's going to be a lot of political revolutions, a lot of political uprisings, I think a lot of things are going to change on how we run the government, how we live with other countries, how we eat, how we work, all these things. And it already kind of happened, like when COVID happened, we all had to, we all went to remote work, telework, trying to do all, learn to survive. We mastered it, and then they're wanting to go backwards, bringing people back into the office. People are fighting this. They're uprising this because what if there's another pandemic? Because we'd have to go back to it again. So they're trying to stick with the Capricorn old ways. You can see this pattern, but they're not going to be able to. Things are going to happen. We're going to be in this age of technology in Aquarius. Zoom, computers, technology, robots, AI, drones, all this stuff is going on. And so if we're used to, I mean, I always love computers, but I know some people that don't like technology. It's going to be hard for them to be in the world. I mean, even now I told my husband, I don't like it that everything has to be paid credit card. Everything is like on an app. You pay your automatic bills and everything. It's just like make believe money. You know what I mean? Like, in the old days, my grandfather always had cash. He does, I even know people that don't have a credit card to this day because they grew up in a small town, in a farm town. They use cash.
Yeah.
We're going to be forced to be more technological. And a lot of people aren't going to like that, So that's kind of my prediction is that, and what it is we're getting into the age of Aquarius. We are in the age of Aquarius, the song, the dawning of the age of Aquarius. We are in the dawning of the age of Aquarius. All the major religions talk about these things. Well, even in the Bible, Jesus said, when they asked him, how will we know when you'll return? There'll be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. That's what he said. Then they said, follow, he said to them, follow the man or woman with the alabaster jar into the house that they dwell. That is the symbol of Aquarius, the man holding the alabaster jar of water. It was astrological symbolism, and it's found throughout the Bible. The Bible's full of astrology, and people don't know that. But like in the book of Revelation, it talks about all this stuff, right? And if you and I'm going to churches all over the world because we lived in Germany for twice, and I love churches and going to these Catholic churches. And right there, you see the four fixed signs of the astrological zodiac in churches across the world.
Yeah.
And those fixed signs are Leo the lion, and its polar opposite, Aquarius, the face of the man or the water bearer. And then you have Taurus the bull, and the opposite, Scorpio the eagle. So I see these all over in churches, the imagery. That's astrology in the book of Revelation. But see, people they don't know that. They don't understand that, but it is. And so I think all these things happening are meant to happen. And follow the man with the jar that Jesus told him means follow the change. Don't resist. There's going to be, a change. And in spiritual circles, I mean, I'm open-minded, but a lot of people, say that we are in a great awakening. People are awakening to the fact that they are a soul. They're here for a purpose. They're not a body, that there's more to life than just work, eat, sleep, and die. There's more. We're here for a reason. And so, I think people are going to start, you can see it. I mean, even now on TikTok, my daughter didn't used to ever like want to be knowing what I do. She's like, oh, she did like astrology. Oh, because she lived with this her whole life. And so now she's 20, her friends are kind of interested, and she's like, want me to do their charts. And I'm like, oh, you do? So she's kind of, getting more open-minded. But she's like, Mom, yeah, everyone knows their top three, their sun, moon, and rising sign. It's like they have it on their Instagram profile or their, WhatsApp, whatever. So even everyone's getting more interested in astrology, which guess what? Aquarius rules astrology. So Aquarius age, astrology, the stars, things in the sky, airplanes, air travel, space travel, going to the moon, living on different planets. All this stuff is what we're going to be seeing in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the movie The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis. They have it's like in the future, flying cars and all this stuff. It could be, I mean, it's hard. It could end up we're living in that kind of thing in the future. We may see it, but that's what my prediction is on what we all need to be prepared for all the changes. But
Beautiful.
Well, that's amazing. Like,
Yes.
you've given us so much information. My
Wow.
head is about ready to explode. But
Beautiful information.
so can you tell everybody where they can find you?
yeah, you can find me on CarmenTurner-Schott.com, and it's Carmen, Carmen, Turner, like Tina, Turner, and Schott is SCHOTT.com. So it's like Scott but with an H. And
Awesome.
and I'm on Instagram, Carmen Turner-Schott author. You can follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. Deep Soul Divers Astrology with Carmen Turner-Schott is my Facebook business page. And I have a YouTube channel, at Carmen Turner-Schott is my YouTube handle. And love for you to follow me. And you can get a free gift if you go to my website, CarmenTurner-Schott.com. I have a free 12th house gift and a new moon manifestation guide that you can download for free right now on my homepage.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and I talk about what the new moon is. That's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother
Well, come back and talk to us about that.
Yeah,
then.
we'd love to have you back to talk about it because I think it's so, we've always, both Mom and I have been very interested with astrology always. And, there's just so much information, and I just love the way that you deliver it because
Yeah, you're very good at that.
it makes it easier to understand because some people, when they're explaining these things, it's so convoluted that you're just like, huh?
What are you talking about?
So
Yeah.
we really appreciate you being with us today, and we'd love to have you back again.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I would love to be back, and just let me know. I'd love to come on and talk about the new moon, the moon itself. I mean, the moon signs, we do whatever. But
Yeah,
I
I
was
love
just,
that.
as I'm looking at you, I feel like before we wrap up, I think you're a Pisces rising.
Who, me?
Yes.
Okay.
It
Does it all make sense to me?
your energy is probably Pisces rising, or and then when I pick that up, it's either going to be a water sign rising. So I can narrow you down to that, which
Okay.
would either be Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. But we can, email me your birth, what you do know, your birth date, year, place, and I can mess around and see and try to get you an accurate chart, and I can email it to you.
Ah, you're beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I will do
You're
Yes.
that.
welcome.
Yeah.
And yes, so thank you so much for sharing space with
Yeah.
us today. We really appreciate it. And everybody else, we will see you the next
I
time.
bet you will.